Okay, so like I said first, to start off with, at the forefront of everyone's mind, of course, is the COVID-19 and how we want everyone to stay safe. The Executive Ethics Commission and the CPO's office has an emergency preparedness plan in place, and it is taking effect. So SPOs have been directed to work from home starting today. But the good news is this shouldn't disrupt any procurement processes, especially since BidBuy, which is our e-procurement system, allows SPOs to provide all their approvals per usual. So good news is there. You may not see, I say good news, probably not good news to say you may not see your SPO for a little bit, but SPOs can provide all of their approvals per usual in BidBuy. So everything will be going the same there. Email, WebEx, cell phones, all of that is going to will be working the way it normally does. So, you may, depending on if you're someone that works directly face to face, usually with the SPO or not, you may not even realize. So you'll still be seeing all your approvals, emails. We're probably just going to be doing a lot more WebExes, right? And that's okay. It's going to hopefully train everyone in how to use our IT tools a little bit more effectively, right? So that's a silver lining in all of this. Sorry, I just needed to mute there. So if you have, certainly, this is an extraordinary time. Any specific questions that you may have regarding any specific procurements? Trying to mute all. Okay, there I go. I think I got it. What was I saying? Using all of our technology tools that we may have not utilized in the past, now we're going to be able to. So there's probably just going to be a lot more WebExes. We're going to be able to learn how to use the Microsoft Teams very well. We've been playing around with it the last day or two, and it actually is very effective. So for whatever it's worth, dive in and utilize those as well. So, what I was going to say was the specific questions. If I can't help you with specific questions regarding specific procurements, those are going to have to go to your APO, to your SPO, because flexibility is really going to be the key here. Some things will be able to move on as planned, while other procurements may have to be pushed back, and we're going to talk about that a little bit right now. Okay, so bid openings. So flexibility is the key here, and it's really going to depend on your agency. So if you have specific questions, please contact your SPO or APO, because some, like I said, some will be working exactly the way they normally would. You'll have your bid openings, but as this is a really fluid situation, and we're getting news day to day, these things are changing. And so it's important to remember that the procurement code still is in effect. Administrative rules still apply, right? So there are still certain things that are requirements in the code, and we still need to meet those. So regarding bid openings, when scheduling, just please consider the following. Are you going to have somebody there to accept paper submissions? For instance, if we still, for an RFP, right, we still require paper. Even though we do have BidBuy, and BidBuy has mitigated quite a bit in terms of what we can do and how we can still operate as procurement professionals. However, there still will be those that we still need to be able to open paper. And so if an office is closed down, for instance, and for whatever reason, will someone be able to be there to accept paper submissions? That's something to consider. As well as the procurement code requires a public opening and two state employees, the opener as well as the witness. If this isn't possible, openings will need to be delayed until such time staff have returned to the office. So everyone's playing this day by day. Please practice a little bit of patience regarding all of these processes. However, we should still be able to move things through the same way that we would have, except for we'll just have to have some flexibility on a case-by-case basis, okay? Schedule hearings. So the CPO's office is going to continue to hold sole source and emergency extension hearings, except that they're going to take place via WebEx. If this applies to any currently scheduled hearings, information will be sent out with revised contact information. So SPOs and APOs will have communicated to staff if not already today or yesterday, very soon, to discuss active procurements. If there's a hearing that was scheduled for next week, for instance, those changes in contact information will be sent out via bid amendment. Okay. And as well as, I forgot to say, it goes to say, or it goes without saying, anytime that you guys have any questions, you are muted. So this is per usual. Just go ahead and use that chat function within WebEx. And I guess that's a good time to note that we'll continue all of our Tuesday meetings. Any of those that, the same link, please feel free to share. The feedback that we've been getting from these is good. We want to be able to provide this information to you guys in real time, so that, in these times that there are a lot of unknowns, we can all be on the same page. Okay, so that's the scheduled hearings piece. Pre-submission conferences. These can be handled virtually only if they're not mandatory. So if they're not mandatory, you can now just do a WebEx, and vendors can call in. Now this is going to vary from agency to agency, and so please rely on your APO and your SPO guidance, because once we get into the pre-submission conferences, they may be pushed back. It's really going to depend on a case-by-case basis. So contact your APO or your SPO. And this is just one more reminder that the procurement code and rules still do apply. So if you are conducting small purchases or releases off masters or any of your other procurement methods, though that procurement code still applies. That doesn't change anything. You still have to receive all your approvals the way you normally would. Okay, so BidBuy version 15 is live. We are into the second week after the version upgrade. One reminder, certainly if you're someone at the agency that isn't in BidBuy every single day, and now you're just getting into BidBuy version 15, there's one thing that we need to do. We talked about this last week, but I just want to make sure that this message is getting out to everybody, that in order to see a successful upgrade, you need to go in, clear your browsing history, cookies, and cache in Google Chrome. And we have the steps here. It's very easy. You go in and click on the three dots at the very top of the address bar. You click on settings, and then you go in and click under the privacy and security. You clear browsing data, click on the arrow. Now, and then you click clear data. We had a great question last week, and I was new to this as well. And you have the option of when to clear, if it's the last hour or if it's for all time. For instance, I did it and it was just defaulted to the last hour. So it only cleared cookies for the last hour, but that worked for me. Now, I also heard that another person doing it didn't work for them. They had to clear it for all time. So, and I've also heard from other agencies, I think perhaps the DOC folks, that it automatically clears for them. Their systems automatically do that. So, on a case-by-case basis, if something is happening that looks kind of weird in BidBuy, for instance, from an SPO standpoint, I couldn't, if I hadn't done this little, clearing out my browsing history, I couldn't change orgs within BidBuy. Now that's not going to affect you, for instance, because you most likely just have access to one org. However, if BidBuy isn't operating in the way that you're used to seeing it, try this first. That's going to be, kind of a quick fix. And obviously, if you're seeing other errors, elevate that to state user, contact your APO, as well as the SPO. So this might be a good time too, just to kind of go back through the protocol for if you have an issue in general with BidBuy. Now, certainly, if it's something that is a login issue, or you need login assistance, there's that option if you need to change your password, those sorts of things. That's stuff that you can do from the home screen. But if you do have an issue within the system, elevate it to your APO first, because if we have so many end users, right? We have, I forget how many we have, 1,500, 1,800. Someone's going to correct me. I forget how many users we have. If every person contacts state user with one little error that they see, state user gets overloaded, right? And then the next person that has that same exact error the same day or the next day, they're not benefiting from the information that you receive if you contact the APO first, perhaps, or even, someone that is in the office next to you, a work buddy. Hey, have you ever seen this before? They might know the quick fix, and they can get you right off and working. Go to that APO, that SPO, and then at that point, they're all CC'd on an email, for instance. Then when they contact state user is emailing or is answering back to all 3 or 4 parties. That way, everyone knows the next time around, hey, that's what's going on. We see this a lot if there's, for instance, an SAP error or something just pops up that you haven't seen before. So it's really beneficial for everyone involved, rather than the state user just kind of doing these little one-offs. And so, I'm happy to answer any questions I can, and I've been able to answer a lot of questions for you, but we just want to make sure that information is filtering out to everybody, particularly as we move to a version 15 like this, and there are some new little errors that are popping up that I have never seen before, and so I'm benefiting greatly from state user. That team, they're pros, and they're really helpful. Okay, so if you have any issues with BidBuy, and we are seeing a couple new weird little bugs that are popping up, and that's just going to happen, right? So overall, the upgrade's been very successful, and feedback has been good. So let's talk about the training for Thursday. So we do have our monthly BidBuy training that we do at the CDB training room at the Stratton Building in Springfield. But it can only hold 12 people. Certainly with the directive that we'll be working from home, now it's going to be done via WebEx. And so what that means is it allows everybody to join in if you would like. We're going to be talking about just general navigation. The timing is good to do a big WebEx like this as well, since we just went into version 15. So of course, we'll be training on version 15, talking about general navigation, how to do a small purchase, releases off masters, and when we're doing our small purchases, we are always keeping an eye on, if you can do a small purchase in BidBuy, you can do an IFB, an RFP. It's just the procurement requirements are going to be different. All right, so we have a question. Can this WebEx invite be forwarded out to everyone on this WebEx? We aren't, so short answer, yes. By forwarding it, you can forward the link. You can either, so an email with all this information, and when you say this WebEx, I just want to make sure, I assume you mean the BidBuy monthly training WebEx. I'll send this information out to everybody on this call, so I can definitely do that. But it also was sent to all APOs and SPOs. And so I'll also going to be putting it on our calendar of events on the CPO's website. But I will send all this information out. Also, if you're not on the call today, but you contact someone at work and say, hey, there's going to be a WebEx on Thursday, you can always go, all these slides are always on the training center on our, let me actually show you where that's at, just in case if you're not aware of where are. So the general services website in our training center. So I go to the training center here. I don't need to do that. So in our training center, we have the slides. So we have BidBuy version training 15 videos, the training Tuesdays. And so all the slides for all our training Tuesdays are here listed, each by date, as well as title and what we talked about that day. Later on today, these slides will be going up, so you can always access it that way as well. But I'll be sure to send the email around to everybody with the slides today. Okay, so hopefully to see everybody there on Thursday. It is 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. We'll take a break for lunch. It's going to be a little bit different, and we'll be kind of, it's going to be different because normally, we're all in the room together, and I walk through, hey, this is how we do a release off master, or this is how we do a small purchase. Then everyone gets in and works in the training environment to work through their job aids. So it's kind of one of those things that you can sit and watch somebody do it, but until you get in there and actually dig in and work through a procurement, that's when you really get the benefit of it. So it's going to be a little bit different because normally I'd go through an example, then attendees would go through an example, and then we're there to kind of troubleshoot by a case-by-case basis and walk around the room. So it's going to be a little bit different, but I think it'll still be beneficial. So probably what we'll end up doing is, I'll still walk through it, but it's going to really be on you guys to walk through those job aids and in the training environment so that you get access to it or you get used to working in version 15. And then, I think what we'll end up setting up is, contacting me separately, right afterwards or something, and we can troubleshoot on a case-by-case basis. Okay. So we get to our fun fact. So I got, St. Patrick's Day edition. I couldn't just do one because there's a lot here. So I married a history teacher, and so I end up on history.com quite a bit. And so I just pulled these directly from history.com. So, history of St. Patrick's Day. The earliest known celebration was held on March 17th, 1631, marking the anniversary of the death of St. Patrick in the 5th century. So these are like sort of pseudo, not well-known facts about St. Patrick's Day that you can impress your friends and relatives with. The real St. Patrick was not actually from Ireland. He was born in Britain. We've all heard about the St. Patrick banished the snakes from Ireland. There actually were no snakes around at all for St. Patrick to even banish from Ireland. The first St. Patrick's Day parade was held in America. A lot of people don't know that. A St. Patrick's Day parade was held March 17th, 1601 in a Spanish colony in what is now Florida, in St. Augustine, and it was organized by the Spanish colony's Irish vicar, Ricardo Artur. More than a century later, homesick Irish soldiers serving in the English military marched in Boston in 1737 and in New York City on March 17th. And then it just kind of extended from there. Also, corned beef and cabbage, which everyone thinks is an Irish dish, was an American innovation. And the reason why that is, of course, Ireland had ham and cabbage, but the corned beef came from Irish immigrants, couldn't afford ham. Ground beef was cheaper. So that's where that comes from. All right, do we have any other questions? So with that, I'll go ahead and end the call. Just one more final message here. So the big takeaway from today is procurements will be moving as best we can. Procurement code is still fully in effect, and thankfully we have BidBuy, so we can provide all those approvals and keep procurements moving best we can, and business as usual. Please reach out if you have any questions to me. Our March fun fact is for the full month is National Procurement Month. I just kept that on from last week. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'll send some emails around today to everybody on the call with that WebEx information. Otherwise, everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.